Hi, and welcome to another episode of Cowbells and Conversations, Ideas That Ring. Today, my guest is someone I've known for years through the National Speakers Association. We served as the chapter leaders' coaches, and so I worked with her to really inspire leadership at the National Speakers Association. What I love about our next guest is her passion, her enthusiasm, and her willingness to say yes to serve. So when you end this conversation, you're going to get ideas about how we can be more informed, how we can listen better, and also truly how we can be more inspired. So please help me welcome my guest, Marquita Miller-Joshua. Woo!
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be on here. I should have brought my cowbell because I do have a cowbell that has been donated to me by you. So
yes, I love cowbell. Yeah, so I gave Marquita a cowbell as a thank you when you served with me. So we already love cowbell. So introduce yourself. Tell us where you live. You just got married in September, which is, I was like, oh, now I have to add Joshua because it used to just be Miller. So tell us where you live, and then also you have two daughters. Tell us about your daughters, and then what you do professionally.
Absolutely. Okay, so I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and I own an accounting firm. I'm an accountant by trade, but my passion is entrepreneurship. So when it's things that concern that, so from a speaking platform, I speak on entrepreneurship, faith entrepreneurship as well from that standpoint, and leadership for change. And if you've been around me any amount of time, you're going to hear accountability coming forth. And so I tell you that I enjoy helping people to release their better self, their best self.
I love that.
And to advance. And so I've been in business for 20 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. During this pandemic, it has been a super busy time for me having an accounting firm here in Kansas City. And so technology allows and afford us to serve people all over the country. So that's been amazing. But it's been a busy time with helping people to get their finances in shape and understand the PPP and the EDI and all the rest of the alphabets that's emerged as a result of COVID-19. So that they can continue to be change agents and be employers in the marketplace. And so, and, of course, now we're in this other season of another pandemic of racism issues. And so just this is a real, no one ever imagined that 2020 would be like this, right?
I know. Yep.
It was not on my vision board. Any of these things were not on my vision board.
Exactly.
But in the midst of it, I've decided we have to take what we don't get to choose what happens to us, but we get to choose how we respond. And in the midst of that, you made light of the fact that I was married in September, but before that I was married for 23 years. And when you and I were serving during that time, my late husband passed, and you were so gracious in how you extended out condolences. And I love my NSA family because people were there. I mean, man, it matters when people are there during the hard times, right?
Oh, for sure. Right.
And so you guys have walked this journey with me from becoming a widow to even supporting my family, my children. You mentioned about my two daughters. Those two daughters I gave birth to, but I have two other children. My late husband and I had. So I always say I have four. And so when people see the other two, they're like, oh, they're pretty older. So yes, I have to explain that. But yes, so they're still my babies.
Yep.
All of them from that standpoint. But so we walked this journey of widowship, and again, didn't get to decide what happened, but I did get to decide how I responded. And so from that, I've been able to join with a lot of widows around the country that unfortunately, it's just almost a little bit of a scary thing of the number of people in this country that become widows. Over 500,000 people are a widow.
Wow.
Yeah, in the U.S. And so it's really kind of scary. But in the midst of it, I've been able to forge relationships. It's so crazy. Out of dark moments, beautiful things can be birthed. And so I've been able to forge relationships with widows. And then I walked through that journey and went into the dating journey for a very short time. And that very short time, then went into courting and got married.
Yes.
Last September. So it's a very dear, sweet, gracious guy.
Oh.
Connecticut. I could have almost had to move to Connecticut, Allison. Oh my gosh. So I was this close from having to move to Connecticut, but he offered an amazing job here in Kansas City because he's an aerospace engineer, he's very passionate about what he does. So that was his one line, his one straw, that I won't take a job that I'm not passionate about because I love it. And so he got afforded an opportunity doing what he was doing in Connecticut in Kansas City.
That was meant to be.
That was absolutely so many things. There were so many aha and confirmations through that whole process.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I love it.
So another beautiful thing was birthed out of a dark moment from that standpoint.
Yep. And when I talked to you last week, your daughter was moving out. Both your daughters are moving out.
Both of my daughters moved out. So we are empty nesters.
Woo!
Yes. So I went this weekend. One of them called me they said, do you want to hang out? And I discovered we were going to the furniture store. And I was like, are we hanging out or am I buying furniture?
Right. Let's define hanging out.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
After you buy this couch. So.
Right. Well, congratulations. What I love about you is, and you already said it, it's like you make a choice to do so many different things, to get involved, to find, your connection with other widows, and also to make such a huge difference in your community. So when we were talking last week, I loved your story about Habitat for Humanity.
Yes.
And I really want your perspective about how we can get more involved, but also to make sure the right people are around the table. So can you tell everyone that story? Because I love it.
Absolutely. So this time, in May of last year, I had an opportunity. He was my fiance then. He wanted me to go to California to meet a lady that her name was Betty Reed Soka. Amazing lady. She's the oldest park ranger in the country. She happens to also be African-American. And so
isn't she 92 or how old is she?
She's like 97 or something.
Oh my gosh.
And she at that time was still doing live tours and talking. And so she had a official talk and then she had an after the moment talk. Her after the moment talk is what got my heart, because Habitat had called me to reach out to me to say, would you consider being a board member? And I thought, I'm already on so many boards. I need to balance it. I had a 3-board rule. I got 3 boards at a time. That's it. Anything. And then NSA is its own world by itself.
Right. You are Wonder Woman.
I was
FYI.
like, no, I will pass on that, but I'll find you someone. Well, then I go into California, meet Betty, listen to her story. And she said something that rocked my world. She said, if you get an opportunity to have a seat at the table, then you owe it to everyone that pushed you forward to take that seat at the table, and not only take the seat at the table, but be a voice at the table. And that moment I sat there and Raymond looks at me, that's my husband, and he says, you gotta do Habitat. I was like, I know. And so because she said, you don't know when the next time there's someone that looks like you or that has your makeup, your experience, your connections, your knowledge, your heart, whatever it is, because we're all made up of all of these things, all of our experiences, our connections, our passions, our talents. You don't know when the next time that someone that fits that bill will have an opportunity to take that seat and make a difference. So I'm at that session. I take a picture with her, and I immediately, while we're in the car, I email and said, I want to be considered. I want to reconsider you. If you would reconsider the opportunity, I'm not going to find you someone. I have found you someone.
Right.
I want to be the person. I am that person. And so, and we went through the process and all the screening, and now I'm on the board. That's been about almost a year now. But in the midst of that, that's
been really life-changing for you too. Because you said, yes, you have a whole different perspective of getting to know this whole other organization. It's like open your eyes.
Different perspective.
Yeah.
And that's what's so amazing, that I can tell you opportunities lead to exposure that lead to you walking away a better person. And so going to the meeting, they ask, where did you want to be on committees and where do you want to serve? And actually I'm an accountant. So everyone wants the accountant to be on the finance committee.
Right.
I made a promise to myself, when I do board positions, I want to do what you need me to do, but then I also want to do something that gives me additional exposure. And so they have what's called home visits, where part of Habitat's, the mission for Habitat is that everyone has decent housing. And so in the midst of that, there are people who apply to be part of the program where they're able to get a house built, and Habitat completely funds it. It's no interest. It's amazing the amount that the opportunity that presents itself. In this house, they're part of the home building process. Some houses are rehabbed, but they're part of the process. They get their friends and family to get involved in helping to restore or build that home. It is just totally amazing. But on the front end, they've got some work they've got to do. They've got to interview. There has to be a need for housing. And so in determining the need, the board members or people on the committee go out to do a home visit to see their environment.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a scoring sheet a little bit of, do you think that there's a need? Because there's a lot of people that do need housing.
Mm-hmm.
We're just truly blessed to be able to home for those of us who have housing, decent housing. And so going there, my first home visit, I'm like, oh, this will be super easy. This is great. And I go into this lovely lady. She was from a Nigerian. She was from Nigeria. And so her and her kids. And so here we go. I go in and she has prepared food. Well, you got to know me that I don't eat strangers' food.
Right.
Here's the thing. Culture-wise, she had prepared this because this meant you were a guest in her home.
Yes.
And it would be offensive
if you didn't eat it.
If you didn't take something.
Yes.
So now I'm faced with the other board person was like, I think we got to take something. And I'm like, okay, I'll take the beverage. And so, but in the midst of it, her home was very small, very quaint. And it was as clean as she could make it. But in the midst of it, there were like roaches running everywhere. The second thing you have to know about me is I don't like bugs. So now I'm experiencing a whole grouping of things that I don't do. And I'm trying to keep a straight face.
Right. You're like, no, cockroaches are fine.
And I'm like sitting on the edge of the chair and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to ignore that. I don't see it. Please don't jump on me. And so my heart instantly in that moment, because we said, do you think you have a need for housing? Because there's a lot of people that need housing. And she said, well, probably not like most. And I'm looking around like, are you kidding me? Yes, you have a need. But in that moment, she saw that there were others that could probably need housing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that just absolutely made my heart melt. And then so we were in the interview, we talked about, what are some concerns? Do you have transportation? And so she's like, let me show you. She said, I keep my windows down on my car because no one will break the window and I won't have to pay for a new window.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, and her kids were, oh my gosh, they were so amazing. And they were showing me artwork and it was a beautiful moment. And I was asking, do you go outside and play? Because it happened to be a very nice weather day, because this was about a year ago. This is my first, when I tell you they threw me in the deep, they threw me in the deep. They were like, oh no, we don't play outside because it's dangerous, because it's glass everywhere and people shoot. And although she still said, I know there's probably people that have a worse need than me, that have a greater need than I do. So I don't know if I have adequate. And I'm like, wow. And I'm sitting there thinking, yes, you have it. It really helped me I walked away being much more grateful for what I have, but also saying I have to give at a deeper level. I have to show up. Because if she at that moment could see someone else that wasn't in the room and say, oh, there's someone other than me that could probably have a greater need. When her kids cannot play outside because of fear of gun violence, she has to keep her car windows rolled down. If it rains, she puts blankets in there because otherwise it'll be broken too. And so I walked away from that opportunity being 100% all in. That day, I was not just a board position once a month. It was, let me be all in. Because I've got to be part of the solution. So after that, I think I've pretty much tried to touch every committee. I went out to a house building. My friends laughed about that. They're like, do not pick up a hammer. Do not even try this. I said, but I went out
your limits.
I went out to one of the
accounting.
Yes. So I went out to one of the house sites to see it be built. And I've done the house visit. I've done a home warming where when they get their home, there's a ribbon cutting ceremony. There's a Bible presentation. There's a scripture. So I just said, let me be all in. And so, I think that's service really does help you to connect and it makes you so much more sensitive. And so that opportunity,
it's perspective, right?
Yeah. They felt like, oh, they needed me, but I needed them.
Right.
So they needed me.
Right. So what would you tell people as far as making sure there is more diversity on boards and even at companies? Like I have clients that are not as diverse. So what would you tell people as far as you have to reach out, you have to say yes, but what advice, because when we can have different experiences, our mind, we just learn so much. And that's what's happened, which is an awesome thing these last couple of weeks. I feel like people have learned, we're so much more aware, we're listening,
yes.
but what can we do in the business world to be more sensitive to listen, more effectively, but also look at our own teams, look at our companies, look at our organizations we serve with. So what advice would you give people? Because you are really intentional about like making that happen for you and saying yes, but what would you tell people to find people, to make it more diverse?
Well, one thing I would say is that I think that you're so dead on. There are a lot of great conversations that are happening. There's some uncomfortable conversations, but if we can get past the uncomfortable part of it and get to what is my role, no one person can change this, but every one person can make a change.
Right. Oh, I love that.
In that making a change from a board position standpoint, looking to see, does our board represent the community? Does our board represent those that we serve? I happen to be on a board for a community college, one of the largest community colleges. And being on that board, I was on the board before the Betty moment, but coming after the Betty moment, I had it was great that I'm on the board, but I asked the question, does this board represent the community we serve? Where are the percentages of who attends this school? And I want those percentages to represent who's at the table, because the realities are, because of our experiences and our upbringing, our educational background, all of those things, it makes us see things at a different lens. So when there's decisions to be made, it will cause you to bring information and a perspective that someone else may not have thought of. And that's what makes it so beautiful when we all, in the midst of all this conversation that's taking place, I don't believe that it's necessary for anyone to not be who they are. Unless who you are is offending others, let's say that. But I believe it's not to pull back on who you are. It's to say, this is who I am, but I also realize I don't know everything. And bringing you to the table may make this organization,
teach you something,
conversation even greater and be able to reach more people. So I think that as we all just really take advantage of doing our part, and if we're part of organizations and boards, to say, could there be another person at this table? And even sometimes it may not be board position, it could be advisory roles. You could have another group of individuals to come and give perspective. What are your feelings? What are your thoughts? Because we only can do better when we know better, right? And so I think that's important. Even it goes both ways. I was having a conversation with a doctor on Sunday night, and then she's on the board for YMCA and a couple of other organizations. She's my Caucasian sister. And so she says, I'm really holding the feet to, she's I'm executive director on some boards, and I'm holding the feet to our board to make sure we are looking at making it more diverse. She said, but I'm reaching out because I want to determine, in my efforts to say that, she said, now I feel like I've got to go on a recruitment launch. And I said, well, you know what? Begin to think about who is around you. And if you know people, and then you think about where would they fit in your world where you are already serving, you're playing, you're connected. And if you find that you don't know people that don't look like you, then that's the opportunity. That is the opportunity for you.
Exactly.
And in fact, this lady that I was talking to on Sunday night, I had to tell her how her and I even connected. I love Facebook. People can give Facebook a bad rep, but there was a lady that, again, I just decided, 5 years ago, that I wanted to just do something fresh. I'm kind of that spontaneous person. I don't like to get in a rut. And so I was like, let me play different. Let me change my playmates a little bit. And so this lady had posted an event. She's a businesswoman. I knew that about her. I'm Caucasian. She says, I'm having an event in my house for some business ladies, and I'm opening up, and anyone who wants to come. And everybody's like, you're just opening up to anybody on Facebook? She's like, yeah. And I was like, why not? So
I'm coming over.
I was like, I love how she moves in business. I love how she plays fast forward. She's bold. She's courageous. So I showed up not knowing anyone. Everybody was like, how do you know Shelly's name? How do you know Shelly? I was like, I don't. Off of Facebook. I saw the invite and I decided to come. Do you know, as a result of that one encounter, it was uncomfortable in the beginning because I was like, oh, this is crazy.
That was 5 years ago, you said?
5 years ago.
Okay.
From this one lady going to an event that was posted that I did not know, that was at her home at that. And so I decided to go. Out of that, birthed so many relationships. Actually, an organization I'm part of now, it's called Women Who Mean Business. It's you have to be nominated, and awarded, and it's ran by the Kansas City Business Journal. I think all the business journals in the country probably have a subset of it.
Yep.
So from that, I got nominated to be in that organization. They have an amazing group of women that are business owners and corporate leaders. And some of my dear friends today have come from that organization. So it had to be longer than, maybe about 5 or 6 years from that. And so it would not have happened had I not got uncomfortable and went to something. And I didn't take anybody with me because I was tempted. You know, we're always tempted to be.
Oh yeah, to bring your friend.
Let me bring my friend. But when you do that, you just
talk to your friend.
You're going to talk to your friend, right? And so I knew I needed to go and show up in that moment by myself, be uncomfortable, and see what would happen. Yeah. And I cannot tell you the number of relationships, the number of business relationships, personal relationships that came from one meeting. So I think that's another thing. If you find that your network or associations aren't diverse, then challenge yourself to be authentic in it, and because everyone, people sometimes are right now a little sensitive, but I think what comes from the heart reaches the heart. And when you show up in a place and have a conversation and say, I just want to be honest, what's going on right now, I don't like it, it stinks, and I want to do my part. And I just realize as I'm looking at my closest 12 friends or networks that I'm not very diverse, and I would love for us to connect. Would you be open to that? And realize that you may encounter somebody who's a butthead on the other side of it. Don't let that one butthead stop you either. Just go, because I could have got to Shelley's event and everyone could have been like, who is she?
Right.
But that didn't happen. But had that happened, that wouldn't have stopped me from the next event, right?
Exactly. Right. So really to push our comfort zone, to say yes. But then also you and I were talking before we recorded this about, because I asked you, is it appropriate if you have, Black? And I said, should we be saying African-American or Black? And before I move to my next point, how would you answer that? So I think some people are curious.
I'm comfortable with any of the language, but one thing for me that I'm even trying to get comfortable, just like I said, Caucasian. See, I'm going to ask you the same thing. Is it okay to say, because it really kind of sometimes comes to the person you're speaking to. I said Caucasian, but I could have said my white sister.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pose that question back to you after I answer it, though, is for me, I started listening to languaging that's happening right now in 2020, and I'm starting to hear Black and brown people, Black and brown community. So I'm even trying to relanguage so that I'm not leaving someone out of the conversation from that standpoint. And so for me, if you'd asked me that before this year, I'd have said, African-American's fine or Black's fine from that. But so I'm not particular on that. But there are some people who really do have preferences. It's kind of like their name. If you met someone, like my husband's name is Raymond, and people say, do you like Ray or do you like Raymond? We never second guess asking that. Like John or Johnny.
Yeah.
So you can just that same quickly. If we're gonna do business, if I refer to you as Black or African American, do you have a preference?
And that's great to know, because I feel like, oh my gosh, is that stepping the line? Would I offend someone by asking that? But I love how you just say, go for it, but also you made the point, make sure you have a relationship with that person. You don't want to come up to a person like in a coffee shop and tap them on the shoulder and be like, hey, let's talk. I mean, depending on the coffee shop and who you are. But you also said respect relationships. Like you and I have known each other for years. So I was like, oh my God, I love your pink. And then you told me the story, because you're you represent, on the news station a lot, about how pink is better, just with your complexion.
Bright colors.
Yeah, they said wear pink. But to respect relationships, depending on the questions that you ask, right? But also for people to be curious and find a way to get more information. Absolutely. And
I think that when you have a relationship, that it can be very open in the relationship, you can have the questions. You and I were on a very powerful call, a program last night, and there were some heart moments in that. And it was clear that either that person was at their brink and was like, I've got to say this, or either they felt comfortable to say it. Because most people only say things because of those two reasons. Either I'm going to say it because I've had enough. Normally that kind of spills a different way than I'm saying it because I want this to change and I feel like this is a safe space. So I think that you can ask people, what do you prefer to? And I want to ask you that, because I immediately went to Caucasian.
Yeah, I would say, I just say white, but
okay. So
I don't care either way,
And see, these are the real conversations that we'll say that, but I can guarantee you there are probably 20 people that'll say something the opposite, because
Right.
they're all individuals.
Yeah, so it's like know your audience, right? Know
Yes.
what would be right for them, but then also be brave to ask questions.
Ask the question.
Okay, awesome. Well, that is definitely the cowbell idea. And I get so many ideas from you, but it's to say yes. I mean, to say yes to serve, because and so are you on 4 boards now, or how many? I know your limit was 3.
I know my limit was 3, but I think I'm definitely on 4 now, maybe possibly 5. Because
so, you don't have to do that many, audience, all right? So even if you just say
when
yes,
you do it, you got to show up and really serve. It's
right, exactly.
You got to show up.
Yeah, but to say yes, to be intentional, and really to push our comfort zone, but also in this time to listen and learn. So I want to thank you so much for being my friend, but also coming and giving insights on this. And if people want to reach out to you, you have so many resources as far as, serving on your boards, but also, I don't know if you want more accounting business, but what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So I do play, like you already figured out, on Facebook, on social media, at Marquita M. Miller. I'm still changing all the last names to Joshua from that, or my website, marquitamiller.com. Or you can even reach out to us at 5 Star Tax and Business Solutions. That's the name of the accounting firm, at 816-444-0004 or 816-444-0004.
Operators are standing by, maybe.
Operators are standing by to take your phone call.
Well, awesome. Well, but thank you so much for serving. Thank you so much for your time. And
I appreciate the opportunity and the forum and your openness to have the conversation, and most importantly, your courage to have the conversation.
Well, thank you. Because
that's your step. You took those, you're using your platform to bring awareness. So kudos and cowbells to you, girl.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.